Hi, Rachel. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I appreciate you so much. And I know we have like incredible conversations offline.
All the time. I'm like, you're my soul sister. I was so excited about this because I'm like, anytime, and I know you feel the same way because I've asked you to do so many things for One Girl Revolution. Like, hey, I always am like, hey, Rachel, can you do this? Let's do this together.
Like, yes.
So you're my soul sister.
If you call me, I'm like, yes, what do you want? Yes, whatever.
Whatever it is, you should just start picking up. Both of us are going to start picking up the phone. You don't even have to say anything, Rachel. Whatever you want, I'm there.
I will be there.
No, this is great.
So for people who don't know who you are, can you give me like the Cliff Notes version of Kate Milligan and One Girl Revolution?
Yeah, so my name is Kate Milligan. I'm the founder of One Girl Revolution and the host of the One Girl Revolution podcast. And One Girl Revolution is a nonprofit multimedia organization that highlights the stories of world-changing women and girls. And I founded One Girl Revolution 6 years ago after working in PR and media for so many years. And I know you've had that experience. I lived in DC, worked in PR and media, and I was so frustrated by the fact that women's voices and their stories weren't often told or weren't often heard in the media. And when the stories are highlighted, they're always politicized or divisive, or they'll edit something to make it not the story that the woman was telling. So, and I get it, right? Like in media, you have 30 seconds to tell a story sometimes, or you have like a sound bite to get your story across. But I was really frustrated by it, and I thought, well, I could either sit here and complain about it, or I could start something myself. And so it started as a little podcast. It was like my little heart dream. And now it's grown and evolved into this multimedia organization where we have the podcast. We have over 250 episodes, which is crazy.
I just looked at that today. Like when you first walked in, I was like, 250 episodes?
Yeah, it's insane.
Number one, it's insane. Number two, it's insane that there's that many women making change in this country and our world, and that are not being heard or their stories being told. So going back to your frustration in media, I don't think people understand, like, men still dominate media. They still have the program director jobs, and they still have the executive producer jobs, and they still have the jobs of the people in management who greenlight the stories.
Yeah.
So that's problem number one, is it's still mostly news directors are men. Problem number two is women journalists, female journalists, still generally get the pop stories, right? Like the soft stories. They're not being given the harder stories. And so I love that you figured out, okay, here's a gap, and then I'll just fill it. Right? You didn't overthink that part, which is fascinating to me because I feel like a lot of people overthink that part. You just did the next best thing.
Yeah. We overthink it. Like, I didn't know how to do a podcast. Like, I didn't know anything. I, worked in PR, which is like all, as you know, but for people that are listening, it's like, it's all the background stuff, right? It's like writing press releases or sending emails or pitching the stories. And I was kind of already starting to do that, like in my PR career, where I would see a story that inspired me and I'd be like, why isn't this being covered?
Right.
Like, so-and-so reach out to a reporter or a producer, and I get it. Like, they're trying to get eyes on their news coverage, so they're picking the most salacious or interesting thing that they think. But these were all stories, to me, that were fascinating.
There's still a space for those stories.
Why do these women and girls come up with these initiatives or these nonprofit organizations or just something in their own community to do good? And so when I started, like, putting those stories together, I was like, there needs to be something there. And so it started as a podcast, grew into, now we have 2 documentaries where we were nominated for an Emmy Award, which is crazy. And then we utilize social media, and like social media is such a powerful force for good if we use it in that way. And I know you do that. And so many of the women that we cover, that we highlight, they use social media to reach people. Right now is Mental Health Awareness Month. And it's like, we're able to reach people and say, hey, like if you need help or something's going on in your life, you're not alone. And we can really, through highlighting these stories, we can encourage other people to do good, and also for people to know that they're not alone.
What I also love, the women you cover did exactly the same thing that you did, right?
Yeah.
There's a gap. Why is this not happening? Why is nobody helping this?
Yeah.
Why are we not getting like feedback about this or finances to support this? And so they just, okay, well then I guess I'll do it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's really that simple. It's not that simple when you're doing it, right? When you're involved in it, because there's obviously obstacles everywhere.
Yeah.
However, like, it's fascinating when you choose not to see the obstacles and you just see the opportunities. how like life really changes, especially when you're helping people. There's people who talk about it, we all think about it, but then there's people who actually do it.
Right.
And that's why I love that you're highlighting those women.
And it's so important, that first step, Rachel. Like I think this is so important for everybody to think about. I got so much advice when I came up with the idea for One Girl. Oh, Kate, raise $100,000 and then do the thing.
No.
And thankfully, I had amazing friends that like stepped in, supported what I was doing. They were like, "How can we help you?" My friend Rob, I will eternally be grateful to him, who runs Behold out of Chicago, and he was like, "Love what you're doing. Let's do these documentaries." But people stepped in and they like supported me. But I'm so grateful that I didn't know how much work it was going to be.
That's
but
probably,
also
was probably good.
that I just took that first step, right? Because you'll figure it out. Like that's the
Yeah.
thing, is like the first step is the most difficult, I think. And then there are obviously like other steps that you kind of hit along the way where you're like, all right, why am I doing this? I'm beating my head against the wall. Like, but you just keep moving forward. And I think like once you get past that first step, it becomes easier.
And that's the thing, like, it's just taking inspired action. I feel like so many of us get that inspiration, and then we're like, yeah, but I can't do that. And it's
Right.
like, but like, maybe you can. Maybe you can. And there's no barrier to entry anymore. Like, whereas news, the importance of news before, I don't feel like exists in the world as it used to. Does that make
Totally.
sense?
Yeah.
So like if you are a female reporter who feels like you're not being heard,
Yeah.
or you want to be a female like reporter, and it's not, like, you can go cover a story. No one's stopping you from doing that.
Yeah.
Like, just go do the thing. Utilize social media.
Oh,
You have
yeah.
Netflix now putting podcasts into their programming, which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
YouTube became the biggest entertainment platform and had no idea that they were going to be. And they're also
Yeah.
one of the biggest podcast platforms, right? And there's
Right.
no barrier to entry to start a YouTube channel.
Totally.
Like, is there a return on investment immediately? No. And I also feel like it depends on what niche. So it's like some people, yes, there can be a quick, okay, great niche. But for others, no. You're doing it because you want to highlight stories and continue to show people, like, look, we can do these things.
Yeah.
And you don't need the news to do it for you. You don't need to be greenlit by Hollywood anymore, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can literally start a Kickstarter and make a movie
Or
on
even-
your iPhone.
Right, or even just have an
crazy.
Instagram, right? If you have an Instagram or any kind of social media, TikTok, I know people are doing really innovative things on social media, but I think so often, and you've heard me say this before, about how we're as unique as our fingerprint, right? That we are the
Yes.
only person in this world that can leave our unique imprint on the world. And we talk about that a lot with One Girl Revolution, because I believe every single woman and girl is a one girl revolution and can change the world through their life. But I think that it's so important for us to also take that responsibility and some ownership over, if you have something, if you see a need in your community, or you have a dream that's put on your heart, to say, if not me, then who? Like, maybe I'm the one, maybe this is why I'm here, right? Maybe this is the reason why I'm here, or maybe this is the reason why, like, I love the stories that we've had on the podcast where it's like somebody's gone through hell and back, and then they became this amazing force for good, and they're able to tell their story, and now they're doing good and helping other people who went through a similar experience. But it goes back to that, we're as unique as our fingerprint, and I think we need to take some ownership and say, you know what, there's a reason why I was the one that saw this need in my community, or I'm the reason, like, there's a reason why I went through this, so I can
Right.
help others.
Well, because we live in a space of like, somebody needs to do this, and it's like, well, maybe.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Somebody else. I mean, I know you've experienced this too. It's like, why me? Like, I have so
Right.
much other stuff going on.
Yes.
But I think to have some ownership of it and say, you know what, there's a reason why I saw this, or there's a reason why I have this Instagram page, right? And I'm going to start using it to post things that inspire me. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to found a nonprofit organization or do
No.
something big. To me, sometimes the little things that we do, those little, like, even just like little interactions that you have with people in the coffee shop or, on the street, it's like those can have such a massive impact.
It's a domino effect
Yeah.
too, and I don't think people realize that.
Yeah.
And that's why I want people to tell their stories more. That's like
Yes.
literally why I'm just like, no, everybody has a story to tell. Like, and
Yeah.
it's not for you; it's for the next person to hear it.
Right.
That might be like, oh, I can do this too.
Right.
Or, oh, I was impacted in that way too.
Right.
And it fascinates me that people are always like, well, no, I'm just not that person, or I'm not good on camera, or whatever. And it's like, but it just takes practice.
Totally.
Like, we've just been doing it for so
Totally.
long that like it's natural to me now.
Right.
So like to explain people consistency, I think is hard. But
Yeah.
then also to set them up for success. Like I did something the other day where I'm like, if you want to vlog, and you're just like, I don't have the time to do it, like just have everything ready. Have the gear ready, have the mic ready.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to do anything yet, but just be ready to go so that when you are like, oh wait, maybe I should. Yes, then pick up the next thing. And no one's saying you have to post it, but just get in the habit of doing the thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people get so... they don't put themselves in alignment with the success of it, right? They put themselves in the alignment of like, no but, or I can't.
Yeah, I don't have the time.
Right.
I don't have the resources.
No one has the time.
I don't like, but even like you and I were talking before we started recording just about like Canva or like design stuff.
Yes.
Like both of us, I don't know how to use Canva. I don't know graphic design, and we figured it out.
Right.
But we figured out when it works for us, right? Like I'm really creative, and I know you're the same way when there's like other distractions going on. So if I'm watching some random show or a movie, and of course I'm like paying attention, kind of depends how into my like design that I'm doing, but I figured out that like that kind of creative work I like doing at night.
I love it.
And so, figuring
easy.
out like how to make it work for you, like, or, you know, if you just have ideas, like you can record stuff on your phone for Instagram and you don't even have to release it. You and I probably have so many videos and things on our phones. It's like, I don't have the time.
Editors, but I don't use them for my personal stuff. So finally I hired a VA because I was like,
amazing.
Okay, if I hire somebody, then I'll be forced to have to give her something.
Right.
And so now I'm like, okay, great. But then like there's a whole thing. Now I have to like approve everything. And I'm almost just like, okay. I feel like she'll get to know the voice eventually. So like we're in that training stage. So like I keep looking forward to like future Rachel where I can just be like, I don't need to approve anything. It's fine. Just fucking post it. I can't wait for that stage. We're getting there.
Yeah.
But right now we're in the stage of I have to check everything. And I have to approve everything. And it is what it is. It's okay. And that's why I love to do that stuff at night because it's just easy for me to like, I'm still with my family. They're watching a movie. They're doing a thing. And then I'm doing graphics.
Yeah.
That's okay too.
Totally.
He hates when I edit though because I'll sit there and I'll put a headphone in this ear and then I'll edit, and then he's like, he knows, like, I'm not paying attention at all. I'm just like, I'm totally just, what happened there?
Yeah.
Like,
can you rewind?
Can
no, I do the same
that?
thing. Yeah.
I make him also put words up, not just because I'm old, but I have to do the captions so I know what's going on so I could just, like, every once in a while be like, okay.
Oh my gosh,
totally
you and I are the same person. I feel like my husband Joe is like the same. He's like, are you paying attention? Like, what is going on?
Right, like,
what's going on? Or they test you. Yeah.
Oh, he's done that too. Like, what just happened? And I'm like,
I don't remember.
I probably wouldn't remember even if I wasn't doing something, to be honest, like ADHD.
Because also we're like creative people.
I don't stop.
I'm a space cadet. Like sometimes I'm like thinking about a million other things. I'm like thinking about the video that I recorded 3 days ago and what I'm going to do with it.
Or like the email I forgot to return that I like did and it's in drafts and I was like, shit, I should probably return that. It's super fun. I love ADHD.
They still love us though. So
I know. That's why I'm like, listen. I got back to you eventually.
Yeah.
And then my husband, he gets it. I'm just like, you can do the construction company because we have the construction company. Then I have the little boutique media company. Yeah. And then I started a paid community, which it's like, it's taking up way more time than I anticipated. Yeah. But when you're coming up with a system and a standard operating procedure, it takes time. And so I'm just in that space of knowing, like, it takes time. Yeah. So when you started the podcast from nothing and not knowing, did you tell people about it or did you keep it to yourself? Because what I also find is if you are somebody that's like, okay, great, I'm going to fill this gap. I'm going to do the thing. Yeah. Don't tell the people closest to you. Yeah. Because they are dream killers and they'll be like, you cannot do that or that's going to cost money or whatever it is. Did you tell people close to you or were you just like, I'm just going to do it and then not talk about it?
I was very strategic about who I told, for sure, because I know that, like, I recognize that, but, like, my family has always been, like, my ride or dies. Amazing, yeah. Like, they're just, like, my sisters are amazing, my brother's amazing, too. Everybody's always like, you have a brother? Because we talk about the girls all the time. But my sisters are so supportive of one girl, so, like, from the jump, they were, like, in it, whatever I needed. I had like a podcast guest that like backed out 1 week. And so they were like, all right, cool, we'll do the sisters episode. And so we did like a sisters episode. And then like my parents were always like, you know, my ride or dies with it. But my mom was like, just believed in it from the beginning. She was like my biggest supporter of like sending me stories. So I told my family and then like strategic people that I thought could be helpful, like and friends that I knew that would support me. And I think that I had a mix of different people. I feel like I still do have a mix of friends, and I think we can all relate to this, where it's like, you know who your people are that like understand the dream. And I think it's like the dreamers, right? Like you and I connect on that, where it's like, we're dreamers and we're like hustlers, and like we fight for what we believe in. And so I think we connect on that. And so I give a lot of people grace, because some people just want like the 9-to-5 job, and they just
and that's
like,
okay.
they don't want to like push boundaries or do anything out of the ordinary, and like that's okay. And so I've learned kind of through the years to be like, all right, these are the people, these are the friends, these are like the family that just believe in what I'm doing, and they're always going to be supportive. I know I like posted on Facebook. I like started an Instagram page when I started the podcast. So I kind of put it out there, but I wasn't like really pushing it. And then it just like grew and evolved. And I think the more that One Girl has like hit these big milestones, like even with the documentaries, people like saw a new side to like my vision.
It becomes real.
Right. They're like,
where it's like, oh
yeah. Or like Kelly Clarkson, you know, when I just was like, people were, I definitely had people that were like, oh, now I get it. And like, I've literally been saying the same thing that I said on the show. I've been saying it for 6 years. And like, but that's okay. Like some people,
you get on board when you need to get on board.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. I get it.
Totally.
I think what frustrates me, and I've said this before a million times, and I'll keep saying it a million more times, is the people that will support strangers before they support their friends' ventures and small businesses, right?
Right.
Like, you don't have to buy from us. That's fine.
Right.
You don't have to donate. That's fine.
Right.
However, to like, subscribe, share, leave a thoughtful comment, and tell other people about it, that's free. It actually costs you nothing to do that. And so it frustrates me because I'm just like, how are we supporting like strangers? We like know at least 5 to 10 business owners in our lives that if we just went on there every day and just whatever they posted we supported.
Oh my gosh,
Then you can doom scroll. Then you can go support strangers.
Totally.
Like it's so weird to me that like that could change our lives.
Oh my gosh, yeah. If the right person saw it.
Right.
And no,
it's so weird to me.
And we see that too, Rachel. Like we run our social media pages, right? So if a friend shares something, like I'm gonna see it.
I get so excited.
And I freak out because I'm like,
too.
it's great if somebody, like a stranger shares it, because that also can be like, oh my gosh, how did they find out about what I'm doing? Or like, was it through one of the interviews that I did? But when a friend, no matter what like level of friendship, but somebody that you're friends with shares something that you have done, it is like a game changer, just personally.
Get so excited.
Yeah.
And it has momentum.
Totally.
And so I'm just like, oh my God, I don't understand. Like, it's so easy. Like, I watched you on Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah.
Like, I screen recorded.
You're
took what I needed.
Oh my gosh.
Re-edited it. It took me 15 minutes to then pop it up and tag you in it. Because I'm like, well, she's not going to be able to have the time to do this. So I'll just do it quickly. But like, that's the thing. It's like, I don't understand why. And maybe because they're not thinking outside the box, and because they're not doing this, they don't understand how important it is to people like us trying to grow something from literally nothing.
Yeah.
But like you just trick the algorithm a little bit. You have a couple people that like are supporting you, and then the algorithm thinks, oh, maybe more people need to hear about it, and then it takes off and you're good.
Totally.
But like we just need that support from early on. So
and
it just frustrates me.
Well, yeah, but then also on the flip side, like I love the stories of people or like just friends, and I'm going to give a shout out to Amy Gill and Carol Krumer from Scene Magazine. They found out about One Girl a couple years ago, and they like have just been so supportive, like time and time again, like finding ways to support One Girl and promote One Girl. Like they put the podcast on one of their like 6 podcasts in Metro Detroit lists.
That's amazing.
And so also like people just like standing in their space, right? Like whatever they're doing with like job or however you use social media, right? Like maybe you have a small, like you just use social media, you have a small following and you just use it to like post pictures of your dogs.
Which
if you
will probably get more views. Kids and dogs. If that's your niche, you will literally get more views and followers than I ever have in my life.
Totally. But if you like still like seeing what Rachel's doing or seeing what One Girl Revolution's doing and being like, hey, that was cool. Like, let me post about it. Or today, this morning, like I posted about Mental Health Awareness Month. And it's like, hey, like, you never know who might see something like that. So like just standing in the place, like whether it's professionally, like you have a magazine like Scene Magazine or you have social media, that's like your professional page, or if you just use it for whatever, it still matters. It still matters in a big way.
1,000%. It really does. Well,
Yeah.
but for both of us being behind the scenes in media too, especially in public relations, like you're really curating, right, how people are telling their story and how they're being seen. So did you sort of find it easy to mix that world with what you're doing, or do you find it harder because you're so in the thick of One Girl to promote yourself isn't as easy as you thought, right? Because I could do the thing for everybody else. When I started doing the thing, I'm like, wait, what? If I just took my own advice, I'd probably be way more successful.
Yeah.
Did you have that same issue where you're like, wait, how do I package myself and sell it like I'm doing that with clients?
Yeah, it's hard because when I started One Girl Revolution, I never wanted it to be about me, right? So I, like from the jump, I was doing everything that I could be to be in the back. And then as it continued to grow, people were like, and you were one of them, like, people need to see you.
Yeah.
They need to know who is running this page. It's great. And like, it's great all the work that you're doing, but people need to hear from you. And so it's really been over the past couple months. And I think I have enough built up with One Girl also, like, to prove that it's like not it's not the Kate Milligan show, right? It's like, no, I just really want it to be about each of these individual women, because I also want it to be this mirror that like shines out, and that every single person, not just women and girls that's listening, that they see themselves, you know, or they see like, oh, I could do that, you know? And so, so it's been a journey. I feel like it still is a journey because it is hard to put yourself out there, but people do want to hear our own experiences, and especially like the behind the scenes stuff, right? Like, okay, you interviewed 250 some, I interviewed 250 some stories. Like, what are things that I learned from them? Or like with Kelly Clarkson, people wanted to know, like, what was it like? What's she like? All these things. And so it's just like the natural human like curiosity. And I know I love reality TV, and like even our dear friend Katie McIntosh, I'm always like, what stories can you tell me? Like, we both have stories from different things, from work environments, but I'm always curious about that. But just kind of like switching your mindset to be like, no, people are just curious. They just want to know like about who we are as individuals, and like our backgrounds and our stories and things we have to share. So,
well, putting the face with the brand.
Yeah, totally.
Makes it more human. And then if you show the behind the scenes of how you've been building it, I feel like it's just a different vibe. And I know it's very meta, and I do it all the time of like, here's the thing, but like, here's me doing the thing.
Yeah.
I don't do a great job. I'm getting better at it.
I think you do a great job.
But like, because there's so much that I just never post or don't show. And I just have to do better of, because my whole thing is post what you live, stop living to post.
Yeah.
And like that lives in stories where you just show the behind the scenes, or you have a thought of whatever's happening, or hey, this is what's going on. And then a lot of people keep coming to me because they want to start a podcast, but I'm like, just go live. Don't do this. It's a very big undertaking, and it's its own full-time job.
Totally.
If you can just go live, then you don't have to worry about an editor. You don't have to worry about repackaging it. You don't have to worry about the graphics and like the post. Just go live. It's posted. Then you can take that and create like short form to then promote the live.
Yeah.
Because I just feel like people, we get so stuck in the muck of post-production, right? Where it's like, okay, now, like we talked about earlier, I could do this part all day. It's the post-production part that I'm like, oh my God, now I've got to edit all of this. But if you're live, like it happened, it was. And my whole background was in live TV and live radio. So I was like, wait, why am I not doing this more? So I started live streaming every morning. And I know like now I think it's 70 touch points for like people to even know you exist.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It was just crazy. Back in the day, it used to be 7 touch points.
Yeah.
Which is why you would hear, like, you'd see the same ad or the same commercial on TV, like, in their rotation a few times. Same thing with radio ads. You would see it in the rotation a few times. But now we have to do this 70 times on our social media, on our YouTube channels, on all the things for people to even be like, oh, wait, you know that One Girl Revolution thing? Maybe I should listen to an episode.
Right.
You're like, motherfucker.
Right. But it is like, but that's why a lot of people also stop doing it, right?
They usually stop after 8 episodes.
Yeah.
It's like the grade 8.
Right. And I remember seeing that stat when I started. And so I was like, if I could just get to 10 episodes, that's good.
Then I'm good.
Then 10 turned to 20. But that's such an important thing for people to think about, right? It's like you have to, if you really believe in something, there are going to be times where you have to fight for it. You have to work really hard, and everybody's got to be invested too. You know, like your family's got to be good with it. Your friends, like it also cuts in, and you know this too. It's like the sacrifices that you have to make to chase your dreams too. And it's sad because there are also people that don't understand it, you know? And so it's like, well, I haven't seen you in a long time. Like, well, because I've kept my head down and I've been powering through, you know?
Head down and powering through is literally the definition of my day. However, like I know the why. I know why I'm doing it. And I see, and I think that's like something that we have in common is like we creatively can see the end point.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm not clear on how it's going to happen. I don't think that's up to me. I think that's up to, like, God, the universe, source, whatever you believe in.
Yeah.
I think I just have to hold the vision of what it is that I know is coming. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that is in alignment with me. And then it'll, like, all the little tiny pieces will just fall into place.
Yeah.
Like, even meeting you was, like, I saw Dr. Emily on social media, and I was like, I feel like I need to know that woman. Then she hired me to do her event that you were speaking at. Yeah. And then I was like, I need to know her. Right? It literally, but like magic happens when you leave the house. I think so long, I was like, I don't know how to network. I've always been headhunted. I've never had to like try to get a job. And that's not like a flex. It's just the reality of the space I live in. Yay for me. Well, that's not true. I left HSN and then came to Atlanta and then like pursued a job in radio. So like, okay, that's, But still, in that zone of like genius of thinking like, oh, like things will just happen for me. No, things don't just happen. You have to leave your fucking house and you have to go meet people. Yeah. And even if it's in the DMs, which I'm sure that's where most of your like conquests for interviews start, is just reaching out to people in the DMs of like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I do. I'd love to feature you. Yeah. How often are you reaching out to people and then do you usually get a yes because what you've built now speaks for itself in a way, right?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely easier now. Like when I first started reaching out to people, I didn't even have a website. Like I had like an Instagram and like, you know, posted these little like kitschy graphics that I pulled together with Canva because I didn't even know how. And so it's definitely gotten easier, like that we've built up, and people can look at the website. They can scroll through and be like, oh my gosh, here are all these other stories and all these other people. But those are my favorite stories where it's like I stumble upon something and I'm like, oh, this is really really beautiful or really fascinating, or I want to know this person. And it's, I think for so many women say yes because they don't have a lot of opportunities. Right. And especially now, most of the women that we're having on are nonprofit founders, and there are exceptions to every rule. But a lot of them just don't get media coverage. And so I'm bringing them on, helping them curate their story, right? Asking the questions to help them curate it, and then talking about their organization and how can people donate, how can people get involved to volunteer. So to me, it's a win for anybody to be on,
it's a
right?
Huge win.
Even if you just take the podcast episode and send it to all of your donors or potential donors or post it on social media, because, you know, I really just want to elevate their story. And so I think that's something that is very unique about One Girl, and the work that we're doing. But yeah, it's people send me stories. I still get that. We'll get cold emails sometimes. I interviewed a guest a couple weeks ago, and she just stumbled upon One Girl and was like, I love what you're doing. This is who I am. This is my story. So I always say, like, I'm the one girl behind One Girl Revolution. So it's like, message me on Instagram, email through the website, do whatever. Like, you will get to me. And your email will get to me. But yeah, it's like finding these really interesting stories that I feel, and I know that I said this to you before, like I believe that every single woman and girl is a One Girl Revolution. So just because you haven't been on the podcast, for anybody who's out there, doesn't mean that you're not a One Girl Revolution. Right. But I'm like looking for like the things that can get other people involved and engaged in organizations. And so we'll see where One Girl goes, because I think there's, you and I have talked about this, because it's like there's so many stories to tell, and I literally could have any woman or girl on the podcast and interview them, and they would have some incredible bombshell of a One Girl Revolution story, because I see that in women and girls. But it's figuring out how to build it out, you know, and how to build from where I am.
I think that's the hardest part, is like I started to do stories like literally follow people because I wanted to cover them, and then I just realized like I don't have the bandwidth and I don't have the financial resources to then like post-production, because documentary is such a huge, it is like putting the biggest puzzle together that you've ever had to put together. And so I think that like I started to push a certain avenue that I knew I wanted to go down, but like had to realize, okay, I don't have the bandwidth to do this, and I don't have the team to do this yet. And then the return on investment, there isn't a financial return on investment. I want people to know, like, when you start this, you're doing it because you have a passion for it and you have a love for it, and like it's your investment of time.
Totally.
And
like,
money. And money.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so it's just the reality of whatever it is that you're building takes that, but you have to believe in it. And that's sort of what keeps you going. And I feel like that's why a lot of podcasts die, because people just do it because they think like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing a podcast now. It's like, no, it's not. That's not a good enough why.
Right. And it's like anything, like you have to have skin in the game too, right? If somebody just gave you $5,000, and like you and I both are at the point, because we have so much of our own skin in the game, time, money, our talents that we've poured into it, I would know exactly what I would do with that, you know? And I would make it matter more than like had I gotten it right at the beginning, right? I would have probably just like thrown money at things that I thought were problems that weren't problems.
Well, because you don't know any better. That's the thing. That's why so many people get taken advantage of, because they're just like, oh, I think I'm supposed to do this. And it's like,
yeah. So yeah, it's interesting, but it's like you're investing in yourself, like doing a podcast, but you have to have some skin in the game, you know? So people think it's going to be easy. Oh, this costs more than I thought, or this takes more time, or all the different pieces to it. But if you can just like power through that, that's what I always tell people. It's like, if you really believe in what you're doing, if you just keep doing it until you're like, I just can't do it anymore, then you never know what might happen.
That's the thing. Like Kyle Draper, who I had met a while ago, said in a podcast interview I did with him, he's like, nobody cares until they do.
Yeah.
Right? So like, are you creating in the dark and nobody cares and nobody's subscribing or following you? Yep. Yes. You have to be okay with doing this as art for the sake of art. That's what I always like. I explained that to my husband one day. I was like, I just feel like you have to understand that I'm like a painter. Yeah. And I'm inspired. Yeah. And like I can get the canvas and I can get the paints and I can put it all together. If nobody buys it, it doesn't mean I'm not still proud of what I created. Right? Like that in and of itself has to be good enough at the end of the day. Does that make sense? So like if I didn't get another subscriber, another follower, or I don't have sponsorship, or like I don't brand it, like I'm not doing it for that anyway. So I have to be okay with creating in the dark and just creating something because I was inspired to do it. That in and of itself has to be the spark. Yeah. If it's for other means of resources, it's not going to work out.
Well, I think it's therapeutic for us, like the creative side of it, because even when I started the Instagram page, I just like put up, like I should actually scroll back and go look for 6.5 years ago, because it's probably like, who knows what random stuff. Like I probably wasn't even, I think I always followed like a sort of brand guide, you know, with colors and stuff, but it probably was like, I know
that's your PR background where you're like,
yeah, a little bit. But it's therapeutic, but also there's something deeper that you and I both, we care so deeply about other people and stories and getting these stories out there. So in a lot of ways, there's like a selfless nature to it where it's like, if I was just doing it for myself, I would have lost interest by now. Yeah, no. It's too much work. Like, I don't need to be, I don't need to like, do the podcast for myself. But it's, and I can even say this too, and I know that you've had experiences with this. There are moments in life where it's like, everything else is like on fire. Like what's that, the meme with the dog where it's like, everything's fine. And like the house is like burning behind. Everything's fine. And you know, there are moments in your entrepreneurship journey or just in your business journey or just life where it's like everything is burning around you, where it's like, okay, you know, and I just experienced this. It's like Kelly Clarkson, highest of highs. Like, got back from New York, my father-in-law had a heart attack, my husband got super sick with some kind of virus, and it was like burning around, and I was like, this is great. But in those moments where you feel like, okay, I don't even have the bandwidth to like do a podcast episode or an interview or post on social media, something will happen, and one of the women will come back to you and make some comment, and my thing was Andrea Mustin, who's amazing. She started this incredible organization, Stop. It's all these incredible women that are combating suicide and talking about mental health. She's amazing. Girlfriend sent me a card to my P.O. box, and I got it, and she's just incredible. And so it was like the thing that I needed. And I was like, okay, I got
Those
this.
little reminders. It doesn't take a lot.
Yeah.
And also when everything's burning, I feel like it's okay to be like, I'm just going to go to bed.
Yeah. Also that. Like, I'm just
okay.
going to sit
Tomorrow's
and
a new
watch,
day.
which I had that. I was like,
okay.
I'm just going to sit and watch a mindless chick flick.
Yep.
And have a glass of wine and like not look at
I'm
going to turn my phone off,
it.
you know? And so we need those moments
Yes.
too, but I think it's important twofold. Like, one, for us to look for those little moments, look for those beacons of light that it's like, okay, I'm doing the right thing.
Yes.
Like, but also we can, and this goes all the way back to like the friends with Instagram and stuff. It's like, we can be that person to also support other people.
1,000%.
And you never know what one little like text message, like, saying, hey, I see you, I love what you're doing, like I just was thinking about you, and I saw this particular thing, I saw this thing you posted on Instagram, and I just needed that inspiration. We all can be that little beacon of light for other people.
It doesn't take a lot.
It doesn't.
Back in the day in media, when like you would come off the TV show, the live show at The View, right? And then it was called a postmortem.
Yeah.
And so essentially, like this is built into my brain where it's like, great, you did a great job, what's tomorrow? Right? So like that feeling, that Kelly Clarkson feeling of like that high, it's always going to last for this much,
Totally,
right? We want the big thing because we feel like it's going to be a thing. And then it's done. And then you're like, and then my husband's sick. And then there's a heart attack.
Yeah.
And right? So it's just like life doesn't stop.
True.
Because you had those momentous moments, but you have to like be able to appreciate them, enjoy them in that moment.
Yeah.
Because whatever fucking comes next could be a whole other fucking disaster.
Totally.
You don't know. So I'm trying to learn to like just be in the moment and be okay with like what's happening here. It's just as planners, right? Like it's so hard because it's like, well, but I want to get here. And it's like, no, be here now.
That's a great way to think about it, like with The View, where it's like, all right, cool, you did a great job, bye.
Right. Like
Because
what's
that's
tomorrow?
how it is. It's like a moment, you know, like people were like, oh, how has like the past month and a half been? I'm like, it's been a wild ride. It was great.
It's insane.
But it's like great. And like, yeah, it's, there are opportunities that come along with any of that kind of stuff. But yeah, you just got to keep powering through. And I know you're doing that so much. Like,
Well, and that's just entrepreneurship and owning a
Totally,
business.
yeah.
If you don't want to quit and you don't cry like at least once a week, like are you really successful? No. Like all the time. Generally my period comes around. It's when I'm like, I'm quitting all of this. I just want to do nothing. Like, and then I'm like,
and then
okay,
you're like,
wait.
whoop, there it is.
Yeah, that's why I don't make any decisions during that time. I'm like, we're just gonna ignore that, boys. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
But your advice of like stepping back too is
Yeah.
so important. Like
You
in those
have
moments,
to.
like, okay, like, or put things on pause, right? And I know that you and I both have done that so much. Like even in the summer, I was kind of thinking about like, okay, when am I gonna put One Girl on pause, or just like set it up where it's
Or
like
batch create enough so that you're covered for 2 months.
Yes.
And then it's
So,
done.
or like take a little break from the podcast because it is a lot putting out a weekly podcast and creating those spaces to say also the world is not going to end if you don't post on Instagram
No,
one day,
no.
you know, and like giving yourself grace in that and being like, you know what, this is all I can do. And especially there are people out there doing incredible stuff, even TikTokers and all these amazing people that are, you know, these influencers, they have a whole team working with them.
Yes.
And so sometimes when I see those kind of people, I'm like, okay, I have to give myself grace and say, you know what? I can't do that this week, or I can't do that today. I'm going to take a break and I'm going to breathe and I'm going to find a pocket of time on the weekend just to like go and do something that brings me joy.
That's
know?
why I love batching too, though.
Yeah.
Like if you just can get like, okay, let's do, I think my max I can do energetically is 3 in a day. Like after
Awesome.
3, I'm like, I want to die.
Yeah.
But like you can knock enough out.
Yeah.
And then the next batching is then editing. And then,
Yeah.
right? So that you can at least like make space for it in your life.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you literally feel like you're sinking. And
Yeah.
you're just like, how do I keep up with this? But again, like nobody cares.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. I think I didn't post something last Sunday because I had too much on I couldn't
Yeah.
do it. And I was like, nobody cares. Like, just, okay, then you don't post something
Yeah.
today. And that's okay. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay. Like, just the conversation with myself. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
Like, nobody cares. Nobody asked me where the fucking episode was. It's
No.
just it's something that I created for myself.
Right.
And so it's like, I felt disappointed, but at the same time, I was like, but it's fine. Nobody
It's
cares.
fine.
It's okay.
And then
I
you'll
needed
come back
the time.
stronger. You'll come back stronger. Like,
Right.
that's also, one of my friends always says, the revolution never stops. It just takes naps from time to time.
Legit.
And I'm like, that is so true.
That
It's
is
like,
so
it's
true.
okay. You got to take a nap, and then you'll come back stronger, and you'll come up with more creative ideas, which I know you have. It's like, if you
Yes.
have that break,
Yeah.
you'll come back and
1,000% every time.
totally.
And then you fall in love with it again.
Oh my
You're like,
gosh,
I
yeah.
love this, and this is why I'm doing this.
Totally.
You have to take that break. But if you're in burnout and
Oh
you're
my
just doing it
gosh.
because you have to keep
don't do
doing
it just to do it. Like,
No.
that's also the thing is like,
No.
people are just like, well, I have to post something. Like, and then they just, it's like,
don't.
nobody, just don't do it. If you don't
No.
have it in you, like, take a break and come
Right.
back.
Nobody's missing it. The
No.
algorithm doesn't care. When you show back up, actually, I think the algorithm sometimes is like, oh, you're here to play again.
Yeah.
I'm going to like, give you an extra push. So that
Yeah.
You get addicted to this again.
Right.
So talk to me about little Kate, because I know you went through something that I relate to, but not as when I was a child. So talk to me about little Kate and what you went through with the bullying.
I have my own one girl revolution story, right? Like, I believe that every
Yes.
single woman and girl has a one girl revolution story, and we're as unique as our fingerprint. And, so I came up with the idea for One Girl. I started it because I thought, like, oh, I worked in PR, all the things that I said. And it was maybe 2 years in that someone had asked me, like, oh, what's your, like, one girl story? Like, or why do you really care about, like, this, like, women's voices and stories? Because I found interviewing all these different women, there's always a reason, right? There's like a spark moment, something that happens in their life that just becomes the driving force for why they do what they do, why they care so deeply, right? And I'm always curious about that. Like, what is the driving force for people?
Me too.
And so I started reflecting on my own story, and I think it goes back to me not wanting to make One Girl about me.
Right.
So I kind of had just never really thought about it. And so 2 years into One Girl, I started thinking about when I was a little girl. And so I was this very feisty 4-year-old. And I'm one of 4 kids. I have an older brother and 2 younger sisters. And my parents, when I was 4, would always say that I was either going to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company or the dictator of a small nation. And oh my gosh. And I've not changed. I'm like still the same. But I was this little like boss. Like everybody listened. My siblings would listen to me. And my parents just like thought it was hysterical. And I never did it to other people. I only like did it in the house. I was like the little mom, like making sure my sisters were in bed. Like even there's this story that my parents would always talk about how like I got to stay up a little bit later than the girls, and Peter and I were watching some movie or something. And we heard one of the girls get out of their bunk bed, and I like march over to the steps and I opened the door and I was like, girls, get in your bed. And the girls like got in bed. And so anyways, I was this happy-go-lucky little kid, very opinionated. I always was like coming up with these ideas, which is like funny to think back on. Like I did this lemonade stand to support pregnant women in my community. I'm like, well, how did I was 4 or 5.
random.
Like, how did I was like, I don't know. Like they need like baby stuff. And I've always loved babies, like even from a young age. So it's like, they need help. And so my parents were like, all right, cool. Like do the lemonade stand. So I was like always coming up with these like different things that I was doing in the community. And then got to school, and like so many people, I was like so excited. I was like, I have opinions, can't wait to raise my hand and tell everybody what I think about whatever the teacher's talking about. And very quickly, Rachel, I started getting bullied. I had, simultaneously, I was this very, feisty little kid. I have a very rare immune deficiency called Job syndrome. So Job, named after the Old Testament, and he suffered greatly. And people with eczema, or people with Job syndrome, suffer greatly. So I had terrible eczema. I would itch my hair out as a little kid, and suffered greatly. I mean, my clothes would stick to my skin. It was so bad, and would get really bad in the summers. But my mom, she was so amazing. She would always make me feel really beautiful. She always wanted her kids to feel really beautiful. So I didn't have a lot of hair, but she would French braid what little hair I had and put these really cute little bows. I mean, it was like back in the 80s and 90s when that was all the rage. And we'd have these cute little pinafore dresses, all cotton, so it didn't stick to my eczema skin. So I always looked so pretty and put together, but very quickly I started getting bullied. Like, oh, there's a little rash girl, or I wasn't invited to birthday parties because I had rash, and the other kids didn't want to catch it. And it's like, it's eczema. Right. And also, where were the parents?
No shit.
Where were the parents that were like, hey, and this is like, shout out to parents. Parents have so much power in these situations to say, you know what? Let's make sure we invite all the kids at the school, like in your class, or bring things for all the kids. Like, I would get just X'd out of everything. And so like kids would bring like snack and there wouldn't be one for me. And
oh my God,
so it just was really bad. And one girl in particular was pretty vile. And she simultaneously, I considered her my best friend. So it's like the funny things. I'm like, why did I consider her my best friend? She was so mean to me. And she was like instigating all of this bullying. And so I went from being this feisty, happy little kid to not talking in class. I wouldn't raise my hand. I wanted to be invisible. I would cry every single day going to school. I didn't want to go. I wouldn't sleep at night already because I had terrible eczema, but then I was so stressed about going to school and what other kids were going to say. And so 2 years into One Girl, I started reflecting on that experience. And I was like, I know what it feels like to be ignored. I know what it feels like to have no voice, to be forgotten about, to be marginalized, all the things that I think all women and girls can relate to in different ways. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be a childhood bullying situation, but we all know what that feels like. And for me, thankfully, I had the mom that I did who was like, all right, we're going to like get you in Irish dancing. Like, Irish dancing became my magic feather, where it was like a special thing that was really unique that I got to do in the talent shows. And it kind of helped me find my confidence again and like find my voice. But that story is like my One Girl story. It's like, that's why I care so much. And that's also a driving force for me that I think back to. It's like, I know what it feels like to be forgotten about. And I don't want any single woman or girl to ever feel that way.
That's so beautiful. And like, I love that you came to that conclusion, though, because you could have stayed in that little space and kept yourself there, like a lot of people do, especially women do.
Totally. And like, and let those experiences, and I still have like, even I reflected like being in PR, it's like there still were instances where I would be like in a group setting and it's like, you have to like muster up the courage to raise your hand because I still go back to little Kate sometimes, you know, and you still like that trauma, because it was a trauma, can still affect who you are as an adult. But I think recognizing it and seeing that, and like you said, like not staying in that, not staying in that victim survivor, I think victim.
Yeah.
I had a celebrity recently, not Kelly Clarkson,
because
we love Kelly. She's an angel, and we love everything. But because I've been careful how I've told this story, because I'm like, yeah, I have to like, it's not Kelly. But I had another celebrity that I met, it was last summer, and I went up to her. It was like this whole situation where I got to get a picture with her. She claims to be this like feminist and do all this like pro-woman stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's going to love One Girl. I'm so excited to tell her about it. And so I go up and they're doing this photo op or whatever. And I said, you know, I'm Kate Milligan. I founded One Girl Revolution. We're a nonprofit multimedia organization that highlights the stories of world-changing women and girls. And she smiles, and we take the picture, and she turns to me and says, one woman can't be a revolution. Rachel, it knocked the wind out of me. And now I'm ready for that moment.
Right.
But in that moment, it like caught me off guard, which is probably how you were in the situation that you experienced. Like, and I was like, well, we have hundreds of stories that show that one woman can be a revolution. And then I was like, also we're highlighting like that, yeah, no woman is an island, and like, you know, women, we need support systems. All of it, not just women, everybody needs community, right? You can't just do something. But I kind of stepped away from, and then like she got shuffled, whatever, you know, and the next person came to take a photo. But I reflect on that scenario similar to yours, where it's like, why? Why would you say something like that to somebody? Like, here I am, this woman that's like chasing her dream, and why
And
would you
also,
just
like,
put somebody down?
What limiting belief do you have in your life
Right?
that you really don't think people can make huge change? Look, there's
Sad.
254 interviews
Oh my
on
gosh.
the One Girl Revolution
No.
podcast page that I would say is the complete opposite of that.
Totally. And shame on her. Like,
Yes.
shame on her and I think about that a lot, where it's like, shame on you for claiming to be for women.
Right.
And you just put not me down, but
Yeah.
you also put our entire community down and
Yes.
everybody, all the other women and girls
Right.
out there. So
Which makes you want to do it even more now.
I know.
You're like, great, I'll show
So I
you
can't
the
wait till one
opposite.
day. I hope she saw Kelly Clarkson. No,
Oh my
I did
God,
think
you're
about.
so
I
good
had a
on that
moment
show,
where I was
too.
like, I did have a moment where I was like, is this where I drop it? And then
I know you could tell me
say,
after,
Kelly,
though.
you also had this woman on your show, and I'd like to tell you
Just
some.
want you to know.
I'd like to dish some goss with you. And tell you-
Dish some goss.
She's
I
mean.
love you
She's
so
a mean girl.
I mean,
But
you
it's like,
decide. Ultimately,
you decide what
make
you
the
are.
choice.
Oh, totally. And I had a woman on the podcast recently that talked about how all women and girls are either victim, survivor, or a creator. And she was like, women are made to be creators, right? You think about your body, and like women are constantly creating. And that doesn't necessarily just mean like what we're doing.
No, we
It
can
doesn't
create
mean
something out of nothing. We can create a
anything.
meal out of nothing.
Oh, totally. So it could be anything. Whatever your thing is, like, that's creating
Yes.
beauty in the world, right?
We all create. I
And we
always
all
say that we
create.
are all creators.
Yeah, and so she talked about, she has this amazing organization called Freedom in Fashion, and she works with survivors of human trafficking, survivors of abuse, and she's like, my goal is to always get women from the victim to survivor, and then survivor back to creator, because we were all meant to be creators. And that was so profound to me, and I think about that with my own story. It's like, yeah, was I a victim? For sure. Am I a survivor of that?
Yes.
For sure. But I want to be like standing in the creator space, because that's
love
that's
it.
where that's where each of us were meant to be. We were meant to stand. People say like stand in your power, and that's what that means to me. It's like standing in the space that you were created to make a difference.
That's the first thing I tell every client in every like class that I teach. I'm like, okay, we're gonna flip your mindset from consumer to creator.
yes.
Because when you stop consuming, you will magically find the time to be a creator, right? So it's
Yeah.
like weird because everybody's like, well, I don't have time to post, or I don't have time to do this. I'm like, great, that's amazing. Audit your time and tell me how much time you're spending on your phone, doom
Yeah.
scrolling.
Yeah.
Great, now don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And instead, create.
Yes.
Use the time to create. It's
Yeah.
fascinating how like when you flip that mindset too, it changes all the other things because we really are the creator.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here with me. I
Thank
love you
you.
so much.
I love
could
you
talk
so
to you
much.
for hours.
Oh my gosh.
I
I love
wanna
you so
have
much.
you on and Katie Mack back on.
Oh my gosh.
Where we can like, we have to figure out how we can dish without like, I don't know.
We'll just have to like talk through it, because
Right.
yeah,
We have
obviously,
to talk through some of the stories.
Yeah, how we can not share the personal details.
Because I
of
think
people.
people will find it fascinating, the behind the scenes of curated media. And
Totally.
reality shows aren't really real.
Yeah. Oh my
that
gosh.
real.
Well, I
It's,
I
like,
like want to hear
fascinating.
all of her stories
Oh God,
too.
they're so good too.
And even like she told me, we'll have to talk about it when she's here. But like she told me about how she was on The Price is Right, which I never knew that story, and like it was crazy. It was like bananas to me, and like she's got
the
so
best
many
out
stories.
of all of us, probably.
Yeah.
if she's willing to go there.
Oh my gosh. And we're going to keep working together. I know we're so
I already
many
know.
exciting
It's
things.
happening.
So thank you for having me on, and thank you for being so
love you.
supportive of One Girl Revolution, and for being a One Girl Revolution, and for
doing
just
the
being
thing.
a part of everything that One Girl Revolution stands for, because you're just such a
I
beacon
love
of
it.
light.
Anything that can amplify other people's stories, right? Especially women. We're just
Yeah.
so underserved in the media that like, okay, great, then we're just going to keep carving out our own spaces.
Yeah.
That's okay.
It's true.
It's not a big deal. It's okay.
Yeah.
We can do it.
Yeah.
We can do hard things.
It's true. And I hope other women that are listening, and really everybody who's out there, like,
Yeah.
I hope that every person that's listening, that this maybe gave them some courage to step out and try something, right? Like, and that's one other thing just to like end on is when I started One Girl Revolution, I was like, worst case scenario, I do 10 episodes of the podcast and have this Instagram that I never touch again.
Right.
Like, what is the, like, it's not a huge loss. It's like,
No.
no, just do the thing and try it. And nobody's going to, like, stand up and, like, mock you or, like, and even if they
nobody
do, who
cares.
cares? Like, who cares?
They really
like, the
don't.
people that are going to support you are going to support you.
1,000%.
So I
And
encourage,
just focus on that. And
Yeah.
don't focus on the negativity. And I
Totally.
feel like that had to change in my brain where it was
Totally.
like, oh, okay, I can just do the thing with the tone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the way I speak, and it is what it is, and I move forward.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. So what?
Yeah.
I will put all the links to all of her things in the description. Where do you want them to go? Do you want them to go to the website, the podcast page?
Yeah,
I
mean all the things. Like you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We're all One Girl Revo. You can subscribe to our YouTube page, so it's One Girl Revolution. Our website is one girl, so the number one girlrevolution.com. And our podcast is up on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere people listen to podcasts. So I always say the free and easy way, like you said earlier, is just to follow and share.
Yeah.
Follow and subscribe to the podcast. And there's so many stories that it's like, if somebody's listening for the first time, I'm like, just scroll through.
Scroll through and see what pops out to you.
And like, yeah.
Exactly.
So, but thank you so much for
I
having
love
me.
you.
I love you too. Yay!
Jazz hands. We're like ending with jazz hands.
Your story matters, but creating content that actually tells your story, builds your brand, or gets you booked, that can feel overwhelming. But that's where producer Rachel comes in. Producer Rachel and her team make it effortless, turning just one 30-minute video call into a month of high-impact content that positions you as the go-to expert. We're talking a YouTube episode, a podcast episode, a blog, a newsletter, reels, stories, infographics, and more. When I had to jet off to New York City for the Kelly Clarkson show, who stepped in to cover for me? Producer Rachel. When the power of her needed coverage, who stepped in? Producer Rachel. When I needed a guest host for the One Girl Revolution podcast and fresh content for social media, you guessed it, my girl, Producer Rachel. Entrepreneurs, nonprofits, and brands can also hire Producer Rachel to create high-impact content that elevates their message and expands their reach. If you are ready to invest in your voice, your brand, and your future, go to sandgmediagroup.com. That's sandgmediagroup.com for more info and to connect with Producer Rachel today. Trust me, she will make it happen.